So I've been playing Heroes of Hammerwatch 2 quite a bit recently, and I'm currently progressing towards beating New Game Plus 7 on all classes. So far, I've beaten New Game Plus 2 on all classes, and at the time I'm recording this, the highest I've beaten so far is New Game Plus 5, so while I might not be pushing crazy high New Game Plus levels, I just wanted to make this video as kind of a short guide to what I have found to work so far when pushing New Game Plus levels. Since this is focused towards pushing New Game Plus, I'm going to assume you've already been in the game at least once and have all classes and buildings unlocked already, but if you haven't, some of these tips still apply to help you with beating the game for the first time. So the first thing I believe you should do when you've decided on a class you want to push is to figure out what your main source of damage is going to be and what it scales off of. I will use Beastmaster Ranger as an example. So looking at the tags for Spirit Wolves, it does ice and physical damage as a spell, so it's going to be scaling off of spell power. So for lower levels, where you might not have all of the enchants for your crew unlocked, you would use random dex gear that has spell stats, plus putting most of your points into the dex stat, since that's going to give spell power for Ranger. But once you do get the powerful prefix enchant, and you're able to put spell power onto your gear, it would be better to put points into int rather than dex, and where int gear is that would give crit rate and crit damage for spells, which ends up scaling a whole lot better. On top of this, you want to prioritize getting all of the good skill orbs for your main damage skill, and a good way to guarantee and minimize bad RNG is to not put any points into a skill you won't be using to remove it from the skill orb pool. For Beastmaster Ranger, that would be the Trap ability. In the same vein, in a recent patch, the ability to disable combo orbs was added to the library, so I would disable that as well to just remove even more clutter from your skill options. As a huge part of your power specking during runs will be trinkets, make sure to attune to them in the library, as it doubles the individual bonus a trinket gives. So for example, this book that might give 20 spell power ends up giving 40 once upgraded. Titles are also pretty helpful to get as well, but they aren't as high of a priority beyond getting just a few levels until you end up hitting a wall. So if you're really struggling with traps killing you, for example, it's probably time to start leveling up a rogue for its trap damage reduction bonus. So a few quick tips regarding gearing and enchanting your gear before moving on. For specifically the avatar fight, I would recommend using a weapon with the vulnerability suffix, as when applied is a 20% damage boost, which can really help if you're struggling with damage against him. You do have to use the weapon attack for it in order to apply, as it's not going to apply from spells. Also, wands and staffs and any other weapon with the arcane tag cannot get the vulnerability enchant, only melee and range tags can, so I would use a dirk for spellcasters since that has an intelligence requirement but is also considered melee. The other gearing tip I have is if you have a piece of gear that you have been unlucky with and haven't been able to replace, such as being stuck with a level 15 shoe, you can farm the forest maps for the shop at your highest New Game Plus level to buy and then enchant yourself, and then if it doesn't have a shoe, just abandon the run and restart. Now on to prepping for the run itself. For blessings, I tend to pick whatever the class is lacking in, but I don't really think it's the biggest deal since you'll end up getting more blessings throughout the run. For food, I just default to the undead one, as the vast majority are considered undead. Drinks, however, are insanely important and can be used for creative builds, so make sure to use all three options every run. For example, if your class is able to regenerate HP on hit or heal very quickly, consider using this drink as it gives a 50% damage bonus, and due to your healing you won't even notice the damage being taken. The spell crit and spell cooldown drinks are also pretty strong, and there are a couple others that are also pretty good, so I would just suggest playing around with the drinks until you find a setup that really complements the build you're using. For the architect, due to its cost increasing really fast, I would prioritize revealing the map as it can save a lot of time from just skipping parts of the map that has nothing good in it. After that, there are a couple of good ones, but I tend to make sure I have gentle traps, as traps really do start to hurt as you start climbing New Game Plus. And safe corridors as it stops the AoE circles that give Shadow Curse and Dark Holes. Beyond that, it's really just up to you for what you want to use, just be careful as the cost gets really high really fast. So in an actual run, some general tips I would give is that early on you will be pretty weak, and most likely will have to spam skills, but don't be afraid to use potions for mana, as you will get a bunch of refills in the early floors. The other general tip I have is to make sure to always go for every chest and secret room for a chance of getting more trinkets. Now while every floor's layout is randomized every run, there will always be the same number of secret rooms per map type, which are as listed as follows. I have question marks next to dungeons and dark holes, as I have seen some people mention that they have gotten 2 in dungeon and 3 in dark holes, but from my experience so far it's been 1 and 2 respectively, but I could be wrong and just blind. A little tip for secret rooms is that if you use the map tab, you can zoom in around the map and see the crack where they are located without having to be nearby, especially if you have the reveal map from the architect, which saves quite a bit of time when running around looking for it. If during the run you are struggling with Shadow Curse, only specific attacks from specific mobs can give them, so I'd recommend just CCing them if possible with confusion or a stun and then focusing them down. For the most part, it's always going to come in the form of a ranged Shadow Bolt, but I'm going to list the ones that I know of. In Temple and Crypt, there's the big skeleton mage who shoots out Shadow Bolts. In Dungeon, there's a smaller skeleton that is wearing a green robe who will also shoot out Shadow Bolts. And then for Barracks, there will once again be another green robed mage that will shoot more Shadow Bolts. The green robed mages actually shoot them incredibly fast and usually as their first action. In Barracks, there's also the big skeleton guy who does an AoE circle which gives curse. And then in Court as well, there's a red robed skeleton mage who spams a small circle as well, which will also give curse. For Dark Halls, it's not necessarily the mobs themselves, but it's the traps on the ground. And when set off, it kind of shoots out and it gives curse, and if you are very careful, it adds up very quickly. For bosses, most of them can also give Shadow Curse, but I don't really know which attacks do, because most of the time my screen is just filled with ongoing effects, so. And then finally, we have the Avatar boss fight. This is usually where most of my deaths occur, but my current strategy is to stay close to easily avoid his swipe. And then in phase 2, I go to the edge of the map in order to avoid the shadow face bolts. And then once I'm back in phase 3, I kind of bait his dashes to the edge of the map, and then go to the center, and then just pray that my build is strong enough to outlast any damage I'm taking. Anyways, that's all I have for today, so thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, please let me know in the comment section below. Once again, thank you all for watching, and hope you have a great rest of your day.